Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into a serious topic. The top 10 whitest states in the US where, frankly, black people might feel about as welcome as a vegan at a sausage fest. Now, before you start sharpening your pitchforks, we're not saying these states are full of card-carrying racists, though let's be honest, every state has its share. This isn't about individual bigotry, it's about systemic issues. We're looking at this through the lens of various social and demographic factors. Think of it like this: if America was a potluck, these states brought the blandest potato salad. Over the next few minutes, we'll unpack the demographics, sprinkle in some historical context, and because this is America, we'll probably uncover some truly bizarre state laws along the way. Buckle up, folks, it's about to get uncomfortably real. First up, we're heading to the great Northeast, to a land known for its lobster rolls, lighthouses, and, well, a distinct lack of melanin. That's right, folks, it's Maine. Now, Maine boasts a population that's whiter than a snowdrift in a blizzard. We're talking 94.4% white, according to the latest census data. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with being white, except maybe for the whole sunburn thing, this lack of diversity does raise some eyebrows. You see, when a state's population is that homogeneous, it can lead to a sort of cultural myopia, a sense that everyone shares the same experiences and perspectives. But here's the thing, they don't. And for black Americans living in Maine, that lack of understanding can manifest itself in some pretty uncomfortable ways, from microaggressions to outright discrimination. Now, we're not saying that Maine is some hotbed of racial tension, but when your state's biggest claim to fame is a Stephen King novel about a killer clown, you know there's room for improvement in the welcoming department. Next, we're venturing into Vermont, a state known for its lush green mountains, maple syrup, and, you guessed it, a distinct lack of diversity. Vermont clocks in at a staggering 94.2% white, making it the second whitest state in the nation. Now, we know what you're thinking, but John, Vermont is home to Ben & Jerry's. They're all about social justice. And you'd be right, Ben & Jerry's does have a commendable track record on social issues. But even the most delicious ice cream can't mask the underlying issues of racial inequality that persist in the Green Mountain State. Vermont, like many predominantly white states, struggles with a lack of diversity in its schools, workplaces, and government. This lack of representation can make it challenging for black Americans to feel truly seen and heard. It's like being stuck in a never-ending game of, "Where's Waldo?" Except instead of Waldo, you're looking for someone who looks like you. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to delve into the Granite State, a place known for its rugged individualism, tax-free shopping, and, you guessed it, a population that's whiter than a polar bear in a snowstorm. New Hampshire comes in as the third whitest state, with a population that's 93.1% white. Now, New Hampshire's state motto is "Live, Free, or Die," which sounds pretty badass until you realize that for many black Americans, living free from prejudice and discrimination can feel like an uphill battle in a state where diversity seems to be an afterthought. Look, we're not saying that everyone in New Hampshire is walking around with a Confederate flag and a banjo, though, let's be honest, some probably are. But when your state's idea of cultural diversity is choosing between Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, you know there's a problem. Chapter 4, West Virginia Coal, Country Roads, and a Lack of Color. We're heading to the Mountain State, a place known for its rolling hills, coal mining history, and, you guessed it, a population that's about as diverse as a bag of plain M, and Miss West Virginia comes in as the fourth whitest state with a population that's 93.9% white. Now, West Virginia has a long and complicated history, shaped by its mining industry and its role in the Civil War. But one thing that hasn't changed much over the years is its lack of racial diversity. And that lack of diversity can have real consequences, leading to social isolation, limited opportunities, and a sense that black Americans are outsiders in their own state. It's like going to a potluck and realizing you're the only one who didn't get the memo about bringing a casserole. Chapter 5, Iowa Cornfields, as far as the eye can see, and not much else. Hold on to your corn dogs, folks, because we're about to venture into the Hawkeye State, a place known for its vast cornfields caucus chaos, and you guessed it, a population that's about as diverse as a plate of grits. Iowa comes in as the fifth whitest state with a population that's 87.7% white. Now, Iowa likes to pride itself on its friendly people and its down-to-earth values. And while those things might be true for the most part, let's not pretend that Iowa is some kind of racial utopia. The reality is that Iowa, like many predominantly white states, struggles with unconscious bias, racial profiling, and a lack of understanding about the experiences of Black Americans. It's like going to a buffet and finding out that the only seasoning they have is salt and pepper. Chapter 6, Wyoming, where the buffalo roam and diversity fears to tread. Next up, we're heading to the Equality State, a place known for its stunning natural beauty, its Wild West history, and you guessed it, a population that's about as diverse as a cowboy's wardrobe. Wyoming comes in as the 6th whitest state, with a population that's 92.5% white. Now, Wyoming is a state that prides itself on its rugged individualism and its live and let live attitude. But that live and let live attitude doesn't always extend to people of color. In a state where the population is so overwhelmingly white, it's easy for Black Americans to feel invisible, unheard, and like they're constantly on the outside looking in. It's like going to a karaoke bar and realizing that the only songbook they have is filled with Kenny Rogers hits. Chapter 7, Idaho, potatoes, politics, and a peculiar lack of pigment. Get ready to spud up, folks, because we're about to journey into the Gem State, a place known for its potatoes, its conservative politics, and, you guessed it, a population that's about as diverse as a field of potatoes before they're dug up, obviously. Idaho comes in as the 7th whitest state, with a population that's 93.6% white. Now, Idaho is a state that likes to promote its rugged individualism and its independent spirit. But that independent spirit can sometimes manifest itself as a resistance to change, especially when it comes to issues of race and diversity. In a state where the population is so overwhelmingly white, it's easy for Black Americans to feel like they're constantly swimming upstream, battling against a current of unconscious bias and systemic racism. It's like trying to order a chai latte at a diner that only serves black coffee. Saddle up, folks, because we're heading to Big Sky Country, a place known for its stunning mountains, its vast wilderness, and, you guessed it, a population that's about as diverse as a herd of bison, before humans interfered, obviously. Montana comes in as the 8th whitest state with a population that's 89.4% white. Now, Montana is a state that prides itself on its rugged beauty and its independent spirit. But that independent spirit can sometimes translate into a "we don't need your kind around here" attitude, especially when it comes to people of color. In a state where the population is so overwhelmingly white, it's easy for Black Americans to feel like they're constantly being watched, judged, and treated like outsiders. It's like going to a hoedown and realizing you're the only one who didn't come dressed as a cowboy. Hold on to your hats, and your hopes for a diverse population, folks, because we're about to brave the wilds of North Dakota, a place known for its harsh winters, its oil boom and bust cycles, and you guessed it, a population that's about as diverse as a field of sunflowers before they bloom, obviously. North Dakota comes in as the 9th whitest state, with a population that's 87.2% white. Now, North Dakota is a state that prides itself on its resilience, its work ethic, and its North Dakota nice demeanor, but that North Dakota nice can sometimes feel a little less than genuine when you're a person of color navigating a sea of white faces. In a state where the population is so overwhelmingly white, it's easy for Black Americans to feel invisible, unheard, and like they're constantly having to prove that they belong. It's like going to a lutefisk dinner and realizing you're the only one who didn't grow up eating fermented fish. And finally, we've reached the last stop on our whirlwind tour of America's whitest state, South Dakota. Known for its iconic Mount Rushmore, its annual Sturgis motorcycle rally, and, you guessed it, a population that's about as diverse as a plate of chislic, which, for those of you who haven't had the pleasure, is basically just deep-fried cubes of meat. South Dakota comes in as the 10th whitest state, with a population that's 84.7% white. Now, South Dakota is a state that prides itself on its natural beauty, its frontier history, and its independent spirit. But that independent spirit can sometimes manifest itself as a resistance to change, especially when it comes to issues of race and equality. In a state where the population is so overwhelmingly white, it's easy for Black Americans to feel like they're living in a time warp, where the civil rights movement never happened, and racism is still alive and well. It's like going to a rodeo and realizing you're the only one who didn't get the memo about wearing a cowboy hat. So, there you have it. The top 10 whitest states in the US where the lack of diversity isn't just a demographic statistic, it's a lived experience for Black Americans who often find themselves feeling like outsiders in their own communities. Now we know this isn't exactly lighthearted fare, but it's important to talk about these issues to shine a light on the uncomfortable realities that often get swept under the rug. Because until we acknowledge the systemic racism and unconscious bias that persist in this country, we can't even begin to address them. And that's a conversation that's long overdue. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.